Hello everybody, welcome to Crafty Soup. My name is Misty. It is time for the second challenge over at the Counterfeit Kit challenge group, and our hostess this time is Lori. She said to use color bursts, so create a layout bursting with color using vibrant hues and playful patterns to express joy and creativity, and that is what I've got going on today, so let's dive in. All right, in order to use a colorful burst, I needed a photo that could support that. So I chose this full color photo that actually reads more as black and white, and it's a bigger story that I want to tell. So that is perfect for this layout. Now, what wasn't feeling so perfect is that my kit has a lot of colorful bursts already pre-made in there. And I could have gone with one of those, and you'll see me as I flip through various papers here, just what I had in my kit. And it wasn't feeling right to me to just kind of use what was already there. Now, sometimes I do, and that's fine. I think part of what wasn't feeling quite right is that the bursts didn't go all the way to the edge, and because my photo was so big, it was covering up a lot of that. And then part of what didn't feel quite right was that there wasn't quite enough texture going on. So I am going to do those bursts with pattern paper instead of with mixed media, which was my initial idea when I read this prompt. So you saw me pull a stencil out that has some insert pieces to that stencil. And I'm going to use those pieces to trace out pieces that will fit back into this burst pattern. Now, I'm not going to do every single piece. One, because I don't have enough papers for that. And two, I think it would get busier than my usual style is already, which is busy enough. So I'm just going to pick and choose a few pieces here and there. And I wanted to do each one with a different color of pattern paper. But again, I didn't have enough pieces or enough patterns to go around that way. So I'm going to use 3 patterns and then I'm going to repeat them. So you see I have that butterfly print, I've got that polka dot print, and then here I'm using a floral print. And I'm going to have each of those patterns read as their own color when I get to sprucing this up just a little bit more. So here I've got the initial 3 pieces in, and I went ahead and did the other 3 pieces. I am going to distress all of these pieces. I did have to start by distressing the edges and then gluing them down, trimming them off, and then distressing the end piece, just because I wanted to make sure that everything was going to fit okay. First, I had to trim off the branding strip from my paper, line up my stencil, and then I could go ahead and get those into place. So you can see I'm lining up the edge so that it makes it all the way to the edge of that pattern paper, making sure everything's glued down, and then I can trim off and give that last bit of distressing to the edge. And that is what I will do off camera with all of those wedges and give them lots of texture and a little bit of dimension. All right, with that all done, I brought my photo back on. I am going to go ahead and mat it. It was a hard decision on whether or not I could do that because it's kind of a black photo on a black mat. But I wanted to have that little bit of a cleaner edge to it, and I am going to use my white gel pen to outline my photo to give that black mat just a little bit extra pop. I'm so sad that I smudged my pen right on my photo, but that is life, and I will keep going. All right, that finishes off my photo, and it gives it just a tiny little detail that I felt like it needed. So I'm going to move on to other parts of this layout. I am going to be layering up more color with each of those wedges that I have created, and I'm doing that with these rub-ons from 49 a Market. Now, if you've watched a few previous videos this month, I am reacquainting myself with rub-ons, and this first one goes okay, and I'm thinking, okay, these are pretty nice rub-ons, they're doing great, and I get them down pretty smoothly, and I do have some excess pieces left over, and I'm trying to use those all those pieces up as I go. So I bring my photo back on and use up the extras so that I'm not wasting any of these rub-on bits, because storing leftover rub-ons was one of my pet peeves from back in the day because they were very difficult to store. Now I get the next one going down, and I'm rubbing and I'm rubbing and I'm rubbing, and it's not really working. And eventually I realized that it's not the rub-ons that aren't working, it's me. I'm using the wrong portion of the rub-on tool. I need to be using the angular side of the rub-on tool and using that flat side of that angle to get it to rub on. Right now I'm using the back end, and here's where I realized that. So I was using the back end, which is kind of curved, so the space that it actually hits the paper is very minimal, so that was not working. So when you get your tools working properly, you have a lot better success. So that is all done. I have added little sections to each color zone, which I'm calling blue, fuchsia, and orange, even though some of those flowers are orange and some of them are other colors. But those are the three colors that I ended up with. And I'm going to add some spatters to reinforce the color in those zones. And I pulled out several mediums here, and I ended up going with 2 colors of Distress Oxide and then 1 color of more of a texture paste, but it was the closest color I had to that fuchsia. So I'm going to water it down. Here we go. I've got that going on, and then I will use it as a spatter. At that point, I am working in my spatter box because the last few times I've done mixed media, I have spattered all over everything, so I need to be more careful because my computer keyboard was very colorful for a while that mess wore off of it. All right, I did do this at the end of a day, and I let it dry overnight, and I came back the next day to finish working on this, but I have an issue. We will get to that. In the meantime, I've pulled out some embellishments from my Counterfeit Kit. Again, all of this is from my Counterfeit Kit, as this is a kit challenge for the month. I am eliminating some of these pieces. I am picking and choosing some of these pieces to see what I want to use. I'm not going to add a lot of extra embellishing here because that color burst really is doing a lot of the heavy work for this layout. So it's down to a few enamel dots, getting my title on there, and a couple of pattern strips on there. And this is where I realized, after I got my title on, I realized my Distress Oxides are not dry. They have been sitting here for probably 20 hours. I don't know if it was a full 24 hours. And they're still not dry. And I was trying to figure out if it's because they were sitting on top of the rub-ons, or if there was something about, this is on top of a 49 market paper, which is a much thicker paper, and it might have some kind of glossy coat to it. And I am not sure what happened there, but that kind of surprised me. If you've experienced that at all with Distress Oxides, drop me a note and let me know what your experience has been, because I'm feeling really confused about all of this. At any rate, I get it dried up with some paper towels, and I am moving on with other parts. I have some paper ribbons, quote unquote, from the 49 Market ephemera pack, so I am using those to add some more pops of black because my title is black, my photo and matting are black. I want to keep going with a little bit more black, which I'm adding with these bows as well for my kit. And I thought the stripes of these bows were perfect for a pantomime layout, because a lot of people will think of mimes as that classic French mime with the black and white striped shirt. But pantomime embodies so much more than just that, but I'm giving a little nod to the cliche there with those striped bows. So that mostly finishes up my layout. I am going to sprinkle a few of these enamel dots around my bows in somewhat of a cluster. They're pretty subtle, so it's not really, full-on embellishment cluster. But that's done, and then I'm adding just one more of these little word phrases from that same enamel pack. Again, that's 49 Market product as well. And let's see, that does finish out my layoff. I will do my journaling in that bottom wedge off camera, and that will show up in the close-up photos here in a moment. All right, I want to say thank you so much for being here. I know you have lots of ways to spend your time, and it is a true compliment to me that you choose to spend it here. I'm glad that I'm sharing things that you find interesting, and if you want to help me out, you can do that very easily, quickly, and freely by hitting the like button and choosing to subscribe to my channel. I have 2 more videos coming up for you this month, possibly a couple more, but I am working on a bunch of home improvement projects this month, so that might keep me a bit busy. But I will be back at some point with more videos for you, and until then, I hope you have an artful day.